Hello everybody, welcome to another video by Boxing Science. My name is Danny Wilson, strength and conditioning coach and co-founder, and today I'm going to take you through the top 5 training methods that you should be doing during this lockdown. Before I go into them top 5 methods, I'd just like to ask you, please like and share this video, and if you're not a subscriber yet, please hit the subscribe button. So in this top 5 there's a range of exercises that you can be doing and training methods that you can be doing during lockdown. So I'm just going to share the top 5 what are going to be most effective and the ones that are going to be most available to you. The first one is high intensity interval training. We don't necessarily need a treadmill all the time to be able to perform high intensity interval training. You can still do this outdoors. You can do it using a football pitch or another sporting pitch. You can do it on nice flat surfaces and try and do some sort of time trial variations, or you can go and find a hill and do hill sprints up it. It's got many athletes in the past really fit and really successful, which means that it can be beneficial to us, even though we're more used to using treadmills and having that controlled intensity. Not having that controlled intensity can be probably the most challenging factor doing high intensity interval training outdoors. You don't really get a good gauge of what speed you're going at. Of course, if you've got a Garmin or another GPS device, you get that feedback. So we rely on distance. So the main thing what I would say is make sure you do shorter intervals, such as like 1 minute or 30-second intervals. If you're going to do longer intervals, make sure that you have some way of maintaining that pace, because during the kind of mid phase, or maybe like 3/4 of the way in, you're naturally going to get fatigued and drop in intensity. And when we're on the treadmill, we rely on that treadmill to keep whirling round, and we kind of go through the motions and really push through and be able to match that intensity. When we're outdoors and we get our heart rate nice and high, we're going to find it quite tough to be able to maintain them high speeds. So when I did a 2-minute run the other day, I was using a football pitch, and I knew that I'd have to hit each end of the football pitch every 20 seconds. So I kept looking down at my clock. Right, am I hitting 20 seconds each time to maintain that average speed, so I'll be able to hit the target distance and get myself up into the red zone. Another way of maintaining intensity, let's say if we're going to go for a longer duration, is try out the red zone running 1K challenge, where it's basically run your 1K as fast as possible, rest 2 minutes, and then repeat that. And we're going to go for 4 repetitions. I did this the other day. I was hitting around about 4 minutes, having that 2-minute rest and then going 4 minutes again. It's just like our gold standard run, 4 minutes on, 2 minutes off. And the time in the red zone, I spent 12 minutes 50 in the red zone. Oh no, 14 minutes 50 in the red zone out of 16 minutes of running, which is absolutely brutal. That's a tough session. So try out that 1K challenge. Try out a range of runs at red zone running. Also, if you're wanting a little bit more structure, we've got our Boxing Science HIT program for boxing and combat sports, and we've converted all the speeds into distances and target distances. So if you want to give this a go, if you want a little bit more structure to your program, check out our new program, Converted Speeds into Distances, perfect for outdoors, and that link is in the description below. Okay, tip number 2 is work on your mobility. When we are in decreased training load, especially boxing wise, it's a great opportunity to start working on some of your areas for improvement. So the problem that I get with a lot of boxers is that they pick up niggles, they end up being tight and sore, and sometimes it's a struggle to be able to improve mobility. We're like kind of stretching to reduce that soreness rather than improving mobility, because we're kind of loosening off and then they go back into the boxing stance and doing that for many hours on end. So working on mobility is a massive factor. So let's try and loosen off them shoulders. Let's start trying to rotate through the thoracic spine a little bit better and improving hip function, hip mobility and glute strength as well. Perfect opportunity for you to do that. Now I'm just rolling a body weight workout that kind of targets all these areas. This workout here is not very intense, it's not very tough, but you'll feel like yourself getting to them kind of end ranges. You'll feel the stretch, you feel like the burning different muscles that you haven't felt before. It's a perfect opportunity for you to try something like this. So tip number 3 is working on plyometrics and speed work. So like we said before, with lower training load, it's an opportunity to kind of work some physiological adaptations, what you don't normally take advantage of when you're in training camp. So when you're in training camp, you have running, sparring, normal boxing training. You're also in a negative energy balance. This doesn't really sit well with doing plyometrics and fast and explosive actions. So this is a great opportunity for you to prime them physiological adaptations when you haven't got them stressors there. So as well, if you've got limited equipment, this is where you can really overload your neuromuscular system to be able to get faster and to be able to get stronger too. So I'm putting up a few different videos magically to the side of me that you can do. I would focus on the more basic activities first if you haven't done many plyometrics before, because the last thing that you want to do during this lockdown is do something wild, something that looks fancy, something that looks quite challenging and end up getting injured. So work on the basics, do altitude landings into counter movement jump, work on like your pogos and your short ground contact times, do some drop jumps, and then try out some of the more complex ones. So I posted one the other day where we're doing like crisscross jumps, doing ollie shuffles, nice and powerful. And in a total session, you want to be doing 5 reps of like kind of your longer ground contact time, so such as like counter movement jump, altitude landings, stuff like that. A longer ground contact time stuff, 5 repetitions, around about 4 sets. Then for your shorter ground contact time work, you want to be doing somewhere between 10 and 12 repetitions, and then do about 3 to 4 sets. Total contacts and number of contacts and repetitions, keep it under 120. If you go higher than this, you might end up being too fatigued, end up picking up some overuse injuries. Tip number 4 is working on core strength and stability. If you are normally in the strength and conditioning gym and you're doing heavy squats and deadlifts and chest presses, the amount of loading going through your trunk and going through your core will have decreased significantly. So we need to be able to try and up them kind of levels on. So tip number 4 is working on core strength and stability. Core strength and stability is massive for boxing, as we transfer a lot of force and energy through it when we're delivering punches, but also can help us, have a stronger foundation and stops us from getting injured as frequently. So we need to be able to have a strong core, and the way that we do that at Boxing Science is working the 4 kind of stability areas, which is like anti-rotation, lateral flexion, extension, and then challenging the hip flexion with neutral spine. But our main area where we do develop core strength is through our compound lifts. So doing squats, deadlifts, trap bar deadlifts, doing heavy pressing as well. And at the minute, if you've got limited equipment, your ability to overload the core has been diminished. So we need to increase the amount of isolated core exercises to make up for that loss of like kind of load going through the spine for your core to get more stable and stronger. So doing like such like core circuits where we're doing like 30 to 40 seconds on with a short rest time will increase our volume and time under tension, but also challenge the core with a few more complex exercises. So you can do that as part of a circuit, or in your main workouts, trying like to get at least 4 exercises in per workout, maybe even 5. Okay, tip number 5, if you have access to no equipment whatsoever, so no weights, you're going to be struggling to improve your strength. However, there is a way. We're going to be using isometrics, so we can either use a wall or we can use a towel. So a few videos are coming up now of my workout the other day where I'm doing maximal isometrics, doing like standing on a towel and pulling as hard as I can, a nice tight grip, trying to put as much force through the floor, and this is encouraging a maximal voluntary contraction, which will help improve strength. So when we go back into the gym, our strength kind of targets won't diminish as much. So this is where we've got limited to no equipment whatsoever, using a towel, using a wall to try and perform the maximal voluntary contractions will definitely benefit your strength levels. And to do this, you'd go for anywhere between a 3 and 5 second hold and somewhere between 3 and 5 repetitions. I would go down to the lower end to start off with if you're not used to kind of isometric exercises, as you can end up supercompensating using different muscle groups that you're not used to, or you end up like kind of fatiguing and not producing as much force. So this is not only a great way to increase strength, but it's also a great way to create potentiating responses so you get more out of your faster, more explosive exercises, such as like counter movement jump or plyometric press up. So you can do a maximal voluntary contraction through an isometric pull, so using the towels, do 3 repetitions, rest anywhere between 1 minute and 2 minutes, and then perform your counter movement jumps. And what you should see is like kind of increase jump height, which is an indicator of increased speed and increased power output during your lighter, more explosive exercise. So that using isometrics is a great way not only to improve strength, but to improve your strength, speed and explosiveness. Okay, so I hope that's all been beneficial to you. Working through a range of methods that require no equipment whatsoever. Well, you need a towel and probably a heart rate monitor if you're wanting to monitor your time in the red zone. If you've got any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment box below. If you're not subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button. And also, we do have our one-to-one online home strength and conditioning program currently on offer, 50% discount, where basically we can structure a program around your individual needs, your situation, what you're working towards, and the limited facilities that some of you may have. So a lot of the information that I've given you right now, you might be thinking, yeah, that's great, but how do I put that into an actual program? I can help you do that. Very specific to your needs, whatever kind of equipment that you've got, I'm there to optimize your program so you're still working towards them goals in 2020. So the link is in the description. And like I said, if you've got any questions or comments, leave them in the comment box below, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers, guys.